Fanatical religious sects are nothing new. If you've been here one particular evening in 1783, you've seen a large band of rowdy individuals literally drumming a woman who they'd taken from Irvine by forcing her back to her husband. This woman was no one else but Elspeth or Elspeth Buchan. Her maiden name was Simpson. Elspeth had had narrow escape in Irvine. The crowd had threatened to throw her into the Scots Loch, the old loch that's now drained. However, they decided instead to drum her out of town. An old, large tin kettle was found, filled with stones, and the group noisily advanced up towards Stewarton. As the group approached Stewarton, about to cross the Alnwick Bridge, it was suggested that maybe they should throw her into the river. However, one of the group, kinder than the others, suggested that she'd done no physical harm to them, and they shouldn't take such a final action. So who was Elspeth Buchan, who so narrowly escaped being drowned at this bridge? She was the founder of the Buchanites. She believed that she was the woman, as stated in the book of Revelations 12, the woman who shall give birth to a son who shall rule heaven with a rod of iron. She sincerely believed this and managed to persuade a good number of people, maybe up to 60 at one point, that she was the saviour of mankind. She also believed that her spiritual son was one Reverend Hugh White, who had been the minister of the Sessionist Church in Irvine, and she persuaded him of this. He became her adherent follower for many years. She also believed that as she was immortal, she could make her members of her sect also immortal by breathing over them in a most undignified manner. She was so convinced that she prevented them from getting married. They were married, they had to go back to their maiden names and send their children to other people. Because children had no soul, she believed. Therefore, when they all went to heaven, which would be very soon, there would be no need to have children. Also, there was no property to be held by them. Again, there was no point in having property if you're about to rise up to your spiritual existence in heaven perpetually from that point on. By the time Elspeth reached Stewarton, she was very battered and bruised. The crowd had been lifting her up, throwing her into the air, and taunting her that she could fly to heaven. However, the noise awoke the local people in Stewarton. It said many of them ran half naked out of their houses to see what all the commotion was. And it seems that some kindly soul allowed her to escape into one of their houses, at which point the crowd became bored and went back towards Irvine. The Reverend Hugh White and some of the other Buchanite supporters came up from Irvine to look for Elspeth. Not being able to find her, they were afraid that she'd been forced away. Whether Elspeth was used to persecution, was made of sterner stuff. She forced her way back towards Irvine, avoiding the toll roads, pushing her way through hedges, crossing fields, and eventually arriving back in Irvine in a terrible state, but still alive. The end of the story of Elspeth is very complicated. Essentially, she ended up at a place called New Campbell, not far from Thornhill, and her body was mummified and remained waiting for her to rise to heaven in a place called Crocketford on the road to Stranraer. She was eventually buried, never having reached immortality.